Hello everyone, it's Sandra and welcome to today's video. I am so excited to finally film this. I have the Lisa Eldridge Vega Eyeshadow Palette in my possession and I'm excited to share with you my thoughts. I've been wearing it pretty much every single day since I got it in the mail and I can't wait to tell you all about it. I am also going to be doing some comparison swatches of each color in this palette. I mean, there is one particular color that I don't have anything similar to, but you know, I'm going to show you similar things in my collection and just to encourage you, if you are kind of tempted by this palette, but you don't really want to buy it, you want to just shop your stash instead, and you want to kind of recreate the vibe of this palette using things that you already own, you know, give you some product suggestions that you might want to reach for instead. This is a beautiful palette. I have to say it definitely has met my expectations. My expectations were very high and this delivers. I love the textures of the Lisa Eldridge eyeshadows, especially the velvet and the seamless matte textures. They are almost creamy and they are just really easy to use, easy to wear. It's my favorite kind of eyeshadow because especially when it comes to matte eyeshadow, because they're not insanely pigmented right off the bat, but you can build them up. So I personally love that. I find it so much more user-friendly. To me, when I think about Lisa Eldridge and her makeup style, I think of really chic and sophisticated makeup looks. I definitely think of those sheer buildable layers. So this definitely is aligned with that. Starting with the shade French Gray. French Gray is very cool toned. It's a cool toned gray. This is a velvet eyeshadow formula, which again has that creaminess to it. In terms of things I can compare them to, think of like the old Burberry eye color cream formula, the Chantecaille Mermaid eye matte formula. That's kind of the cream to powder type of feeling of the formula. And this particular shade, I've seen it look really different depending on people's undertones. On me, it's really cold. It almost has like a blue coolness to it, but it's nice. I mean, this palette definitely it's neutral, but it's still outside of my comfort zone because it is quite cool toned. Out of all the products that I have, the most similar item that I have is the Chantecaille Mermaid Eye Matte color in the shade Olivia. So you can see here, the Chantecaille Olivia has a bit of a sheen to it, and then the Lisa Eldridge French Gray almost has like a blue undertone to it. Can look different on other people, you know, depending on your undertone. I have seen French Gray look a lot warmer on some people, or maybe not warmer, but a bit more neutral. But on me, it definitely, you know, leans into the cold side of the spectrum. I'm going to put that color all over the lid. Like, these shadows blend so easily. Hopefully a custom palette option will be in the future, but I'm really happy with the way that these shadows blend. I'm all about those sheer buildable layers. Next, let's talk about this shade here. This is the shade Turbulence. Turbulence is a seamless matte texture. I do find, you know, between the velvet and the seamless matte eyeshadow texture, they kind of feel the same to me. Turbulence is a really beautiful neutral brown. It is a perfect neutral brown. I'm so happy it's in this palette. This is quite a heavy swatch of it. The one thing that I noticed about this palette, and I'm sure this can kind of translate to the other palettes, is that they swatch a lot lighter than they look in the pan. So if you're used to the experience of swatching like a Pat McGrath eyeshadow, an Anastasia eyeshadow, you know, where you just kind of gently dip your finger into the palette and then you get like a streak of pigment, this is not that experience, especially with darker matte shadows. If you're trying to be more precise with application, with just very ever so slightly smoking out the outer corner or just adding little touches here and there, it's a lot more user-friendly. So this is the shade Turbulence, which is incredible. I'm actually really excited to use this shade even just as a one and done eyeshadow because, you know, you can get a really diffused application and then you can kind of intensify it wherever you want it to. And no wonder I love this shade so much because it's actually most similar to one of my other favorite single eyeshadows by Surratt. Swatch it next to Turbulence, and actually swatching, you know, I love the eyeshadow formula from Surratt, but now swatching it next to the Lisa Eldridge formula, I can confidently say that I prefer the Lisa Eldridge eyeshadow formula even more. So here is Surratt compared to Lisa Eldridge Turbulence. So Turbulence is maybe a hint more neutral. I can see a hint more yellow in the Surratt. Dip into Turbulence and just use it to define the crease a little bit. I love the feeling of this compact. It's lightweight. It's not super heavy metal like the Care Vice metallic compacts, but it still feels really sturdy and high quality. I'd say it's on par. I mean, it feels just as nice in my hand as like a Tom Ford palette. The Tom Ford palettes are, you know, they're also made of plastic, but they feel just as nice in the hand. And one thing I noticed about these matte shades is that they really don't kick up nearly at all. Like there's very, very little fallout with these shadows. Fallout is not it's not a deal breaker for me. It's something that I can always clean up. But just something to note. Kind of smoking out the outer corner and just a little in my crease. You know, I'm not a professional makeup artist, and I also don't do very intricate eyeshadow looks on a regular basis, so I find this type of formula a lot less intimidating than a super, super pigmented matte formula where I accidentally pick up too much product on my brush and then I just kind of dump it on my eye and then I have to work really hard to blend it out. I don't have the skills. And then I'm going to also take the Turbulence shade on a smaller brush and apply it on my lower lash line as well. Moon Swirl is a metallic finish, and the metallic finish from Lisa Eldridge is less impactful, less in your face than some that I've tried from other brands, but it's really flattering. It's really smoothing, and if you have aging eyelids, like with me, I noticed that the older that I get, I can't handle the super, super high impact metallics or super, super glittery shadows as much as I was able to when I was in my 20s. It's really flattering, and it does have like a smoothing effect on the eyelids. It's not going to give you the same super, super high impact blinding metallic finish that you can get from other brands. But again, for me, this is, it's much more aligned with the makeup that I kind of gravitate towards on a regular basis. Out of what I have, the closest thing would be this particular shade from the Tom Ford Nude Dip palette. I think if you maybe had a more robust cool tone shadow collection, you'd probably be able to kind of dupe the vibes of this even better than I can. But here we have this particular taupey shade from the Tom Ford. So here we have the Lisa Eldridge Moon Swirl shade, and then this is that taupey color from Tom Ford Nude Dip. You can see the Tom Ford Nude Dip pulls maybe a little bit more purple on me. With the Tom Ford shadows, obviously you can get these to look even more intense and more metallic if you use them wet. But honestly, on my eyelids, I don't like the way they look wet. They look too metallic, so I always use the Tom Ford shadows dry. With the Moon Swirl shade, when Lisa Eldridge demonstrated this color, she used her fingers to apply it, so I've been doing the same thing, but it works just as nicely with a brush too. So I'm just going to dab it on. Like, it's just so effortless and there's no fallout, and I'm just tapping it on. I'm also not using any eyeshadow primer today because I ran out and I haven't bought a new one, and I'm actually really satisfied with with the performance of these shadows, even without eyeshadow primer, they don't really fade that much, and I got quite minimal creasing, especially for me, given the fact that I have oily eyelids and everything creases on me. So I expect it to crease, and it did crease, but it creased just a little bit. So it was really easy to just take a clean brush and kind of buff out the crease, and my eyeshadow just looked really good all day. That's it, like easy peasy. You know, I can always go in with a brush and smooth out the edges if needed, but it's really just that easy. I'm actually really excited to use Moon Swirl with some warmer tone shadows as well. I think it would look really, really good. It's like gorgeous neutral taupe that you can kind of pull cooler or warmer depending on what you layer underneath. So obviously today we are embracing the cool tones. And let's take things even further. So next up, I'm going to talk about this dark blue shade called Smoke and Mirrors, and then the black shade, which is called Lamp Black. Both of these are seamless matte formulas, and when I played with these, you know, in different kinds of looks throughout the week, the Smoke and Mirrors shade is the one that I experienced the most fallout with. Not to say that I experienced a lot of fallout with it, but just compared to the others, this is the one shade that gave me more fallout than the others. And this is the one shade that I don't have anything, you know, I don't have anything like this. It's also the most intimidating shade for me because it's like a very, very, very cool toned, like steel blue. Does that make any sense? But it's really beautiful, and for me this is outside of my comfort zone, but it's still really beautiful. And then the black shade, black is again another eyeshadow color that I very rarely use because I find it really intimidating, and I find it a bit too harsh for my liking for everyday use, but it is nice to have a black eyeshadow in your collection. Before this, the one eyeshadow that was black that I had was this shadow from my custom Surratt palette that I made, and this is the color is called Noir Le Plus Noir. This is Lisa Eldridge Smoke and Mirrors. This is Lisa Eldridge Lamp Black, and then this is the Surratt Noir Le Plus Noir black shadow that I have. So I'm going to just dip my brush into the Smoke and Mirrors blue shade, and I'm using the same brush that I used to do my crease work, and I'm very, very, very gently, just in case there's any fallout, very, very gently using this to smoke out that corner just a tiny little. But I don't want to go overboard because when I was playing with this on other days, I applied too much and I didn't like the way that looked on me. So I'm being very stingy with this. Barely just tapping. And next I'm going to be really boring and predictable and use the Lamp Black shade as an eyeliner. Just again, very, very gently doing like a smoky lash line with it. And if you want to see another similar look, but slightly different, I'm using the Vega palette. I did a reel on my Instagram, and then I did a deeper dive on the eyeshadow on YouTube Shorts. So if you just go to my videos and see the last video that I did before this, in the YouTube Shorts section, you will see I did a similar look, but I mixed the blue and the black, and I used it to create a more graphic winged liner, more graphic for me. Not really doing a dramatic wing or anything. And this brush is amazing. It's the Rephr 23 brush. Next, let's talk about the shade Supernova, which is right here. This is the kind of like the glitter topper, really refined. It's not going to be as blinding as a Pat McGrath glitter, for example. It's not as intense as the Lisa Eldridge Liquid Lurex. It's just a really beautiful, densely packed silver glitter in a sheer, like silver pearly base. And this, when you layer it just in a small amount in the inner corner or in the center of the lid for a little spotlight effect, it almost gives that wet shine. It's really, really pretty. I'm going to swatch it next to the Lisa Eldridge Liquid Lurex in the shade Emily, just so you can kind of see the difference between them. Emily is definitely more pigmented, and it also has a different undertone. You see, Emily is actually warm compared to Supernova. I'm going to swatch some of the glitters from the Makeup by Mario palette, just so you can kind of see. This is like the super light gold is a lot more sheer in comparison. Like, you can barely see the Makeup by Mario. So I swatched this pinky glitter and then the lightest glitter from the Makeup by Mario palette. Makeup by Mario shadows are definitely more sheer and warm in comparison. So this is the Lisa Eldridge Supernova shade. This is the Lisa Eldridge Liquid Lurex in Emily, just so you can kind of see the difference in the vibe. And then here we have the, oh my God, you can barely see it, the Makeup by Mario, like super pale gold shade from the palette. And then this is that pinky shade from the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes palette. A glitter topper is a glitter topper, you know, used in a small amount, just strategically in some places of the eye. You can definitely achieve the same slightly wet spotlight look. And it works nicely with fingers, but I like the control of a brush. And I'm just dabbing it in the very center and in the inner corner. So you can see here, the difference is really subtle, but this eye, you know, just has that extra wet gleam in the center and in the inner corner compared to this. This is so flattering in the inner corner. I don't like using glitter shadows in my inner corner usually. Even the Makeup by Mario ones, I don't like using them in the inner corner, but this particular glitter, like the glitter particles in here are so small, they don't really irritate my eyes, and they actually look really flattering in the inner corner. I'm very impressed. It's a beautiful formula. And this is the finished look with the Lisa Eldridge Vega palette. I love it. And like I said, for me, this is very much outside of my comfort zone, but I think it really works. And I'm really into this look, especially for winter. I've been slowly, you know, tiptoeing into cooler tones over the last year and a half or so, and I'm really enjoying it. I truly don't have any like icy cool toned palette. For a long time I was contemplating getting the Victoria Beckham smoky eye brick, but I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I chose this instead, because I just find this a lot more versatile than that, and it's beautiful. I'm a big fan of this look, especially love the way it looks with a gray sweater. I'm feeling like an ice queen with this look, and yeah, I really enjoy it, and I'm very excited, like I said, to incorporate these shadows, some of the shadows in this palette, with other shadows that I have, and creating more different looks. And speaking of different shadows, and one of the things that I love about these particular palettes is that, you know, you can get singles from other palettes, and you can kind of create your own little customized version of a palette. You can just pop out any shades and just switch them with other things. So I did buy 2 single shadows from the Cinnabar palette, which is the really warm eyeshadow palette, especially given with how much I love the Lisa Eldridge Velvet and the Seamless Matte eyeshadow formula. I bought the shade Raw Sienna, which is a seamless matte, and the shade Deep Ochre, which is a velvet, from the Cinnabar palette. And in order to make this more of a daily driver palette for me, what I would do is take my little pin and I will swap out Smoke and Mirrors for Raw Sienna instead, and then swap out the Lamp Black shade with Deep Ochre, and boom, we now have a more neutral eyeshadow palette that's more of a daily, something that I would call a daily driver for me. This is a lot more in line with the makeup that I like to use every single day. But of course, I love the fact that I have a really good black eyeshadow and this gorgeous dark blue for when I do want to embrace the Ice Queen vibes. And I can just put these in a palette, an empty palette that I have laying around. This is a Salt New York one. Z palettes will work. There are so many brands that do empty palettes, and the Lisa Eldridge shadows are they're metallic. So any palette that you have that is magnetized, you can pop the the Lisa Eldridge pans in there. So this is my little modification of the Vega palette. So if you want me to do an eyeshadow look with my custom Lisa Eldridge palette next, let me know, and I can do that. Maybe I'll incorporate that into another Shop My Stash look. But yeah, overall, I'm really, really happy with my purchase, and I'm really excited for what's to come. I'm excited for other expansions to the range. I also, like I said in my previous video, I hope that there is a fully customizable palette option, because, you know, if you are watching this and you have your eye on a couple of palettes, but you know that you really wouldn't use every single shade in that particular palette, you don't, these shadows are expensive. You don't want to waste your money. I think it's smarter to just wait for a fully customizable option to become available, and you can kind of build your own. Right now, that option does not exist. You can't just buy an empty palette. And if you were to just buy 6 individual single shadows from Lisa Eldridge, the price point is really, really high. So, you know, there are still some kinks to iron out, but I'm sure it will all be, you know, figured out in the future. My experience with these eyeshadows has been nothing but beautiful. I'm really excited about eyeshadow again. I'm obviously still so smitten with the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes palette. I look forward to doing my eye makeup every single day, and I think it's going to be a really fun holiday season with all these gorgeous glitters. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.